All right, guys. Now, earlier in the week, before NEST started, I decided I was going to make my predictions for the summer split of the LPL, where I thought the teams were going to shake out. I did this for nearly every split. Last split in particular, I made my expectations for spring split and then the reality of it. The biggest differences in changes were, of course, FPX. I thought we're going to be a seventh place team, became the third place team at the very end, but they had the first place spot in the regular season. No one would have expected that. I certainly didn't. Team WE made their jump. Suning Gaming made the biggest leap down. I thought they were going to be the third best team. In reality, they were, the ninth best team? It was insane. But now my eyes focus towards the summer split, and I decided I was going to make a video. I know a lot of you people wanted to know what my thoughts were. Why did I think certain teams were going to be much better than they really were? So I'm going to present you my list. Now, I'm going to present it all in one go. Some teams I won't even touch because that's just going to be the expected route for these. I'm not even going to give you my explanation for some of them. But I'm going to focus on a few real good nuggets that you guys will probably disagree with. So boom, here you go. The teams that I will not discuss are Vici. They are what they are. They had Ian now, and I mean, that's not good enough. V5, they lost so much here. They lost their coaching staff of Dog 8. They lost their star top laner in Jinu. They lost Korn, an exceptional mid laner. And then the rest of the lineup, you already saw the announcements. Not good enough. I think they make their big drop. OMG, not good enough. Even with the additions that they have. And they lost Ale. I think that is just huge that they would lose such a young, talented top laner. And to be fair, even if they did have him, it wouldn't be good enough unless if the experience that he had in the last split was big enough. Going to LNG, former Snake, yeah, it's not good enough. I still need to see what Plex has to offer. I think this team, LNG has the biggest opportunity to make that jump, to make that leap. All they need is a mid laner. In my mind, all they need is a mid laner, and to be fair, some more added discipline towards their top side of the map. If your top side is supposed to be your star lineup, if you are gambling everything on SOFM and Flandre, they need to be consistent performers. And then once again, my eyes go towards Plex, because when they initially came out with the rotating roster, initially the Korean import that they brought in wasn't good enough. He was the weakest mid laner of the league. And Andy, I thought, was going to be the solution, but of course he's a rookie and he takes a lot of risks. And he's just way too different. He's an assassin player by heart. He's a Yasuo main. Very solid, nailed down mid laner, someone who has the experience or has a strong enough IQ that can always rotate towards SOFM so you have a strong 2v2. If you don't have a strong 2v2 around SOFM, then there's no point of that, mid laner existing. That is not only the most important part of the map and a part of the game, but also if your main strength is SOFM and he's just not being supported, then that is a major issue. I want to see if if Plex is good enough coming in from Griffin, and that's why I think that they can change. But if it is going the same way, if he has the same value as Fun, then I think they're going to stay at 13th place. Dominus, a lot of people are going to not be happy about this. They are the NAST champions. They knocked down EDG in the playoffs, wondering why they don't even make playoffs here in my mind. Now, I think this one is the biggest risk for me, keeping them outside of the playoffs. And I think coming into the split with Dominus side was an amazing amount of synergy because they kept this team during the LDL run. They come into the league, they start out strong, and then they go into the playoffs, and what they showcased was incredibly intelligent level ones and playing through who I believe is the fourth best jungler in the league. Like, if we're just talking about my jungle tier ranking, I have it as Karsa, Ning, Tien, and then I have Xiaopeng. Xiaopeng is such a star for this team, but the major issue for me is that when we're just talking about the people that rank above, the teams that rank above right now of Dominus that I have nailed down, I think their major issues have always been synergy and working amongst themselves. Team play has always been far weaker than Dominus. But this is the split where I feel like a lot of that should be, handled. a lot of that should be nailed down. And if synergy going into summer split is not an issue because they've had a full split to work on that, then certainly you then come down to player value. How does Twyla rank up against CA? How does Twyla rank up against Yuki? Or how does Chang Hong rank up against a lot of these top laners? When it comes down to individual strength, they start to simmer down, and you have a lot more onus on Gala, Mark, and Xiaopeng, and I just don't think that's good enough. You need to have your solo laners being able to play up against the top-tier talent. Maybe they do that, but my gambit here is that they do not. Then going on towards LGD, I've already made my statement on them. I think the synergy that they have coming into this split is going to be crucial. I heard that they got Doran for the top lane, and I think that's mechanics in the top side of the map is the only thing that I was ever worried about. They handled that. Moving on to the next one. Going to be Team WE. I don't have them going into the playoffs. This is actually pretty massive. I think this was tough going into spring split, that they managed to break out of the pack, get into the playoff, and make their run. I thought that, or at least make the attempt. Everyone thought that they were strong enough coming into it, but they lost to JD. My biggest issue here is that I still think the jungle position is still a pretty big gap. That while you have Beishan coming in and showing a lot of strength near the end of the split, a lot of the junglers that rank above him right now, and a lot of the teams that rank above him still, I think, have far more experience than him. And right now, the Team WE style is way too hectic, way too crazy. Going into the early game, because all they're trying to do is get CA and Mystic out scot-free so they can get into the later portions of the game, and CA and Mystic are mechanical like gods. I think that's not going to be good enough going into a lot of these teams. And let's start talking about those teams. The teams that I think they're going to be fighting for that 8th place spot. Suning. I thought they were going to be 3rd place last split. I think that they're going to at least should be able to resolve some of these issues. Unfortunately, as you can see, I don't think they're going to be enough in terms of those solutions because they've already lost Xiao Al, their strongest player in my mind. So now you have Maple, who is a good facilitating mid laner, but not the strongest mid laner. A mid laner that's actually kind of been weaker going into a lot of the strong LPL mid lanes. I think SMLZ and Sword are going to be the key strengths. Hacker has been going to be fantastic, and I just believe that the added coaching staff that they had with Fluidwind is going to be good enough to be at least 9th place. It still sucks. It's still sad that I don't have them in the playoffs. I think this team should be far better than what they are. Losing Xiao Al will make it even worse. Rogue Warriors. This one's going to be a good one. So I'm just going to talk about these 3 teams in bunch. Rogue Warriors, EDG, and BLG. Now, Rogue Warriors, I think a lot of people are sleeping on this team because everyone just saw that one acquisition of Haro and said, okay, that's not good enough, right? But this is incredible for them. Haro is not only a world-class jungler coming into Worlds last year and showcasing his strength, his mechanical strength on his Lee Sin, Olaf, all that stuff, being able to apply early pressure in a team. Right now, if I look at Rogue Warriors last split, they were by far the weakest jungle. Like Xiao Yao was someone that I didn't get to see enough of because, unfortunately, this team just didn't have jungle strength. They were the worst in terms of that. They were the weakest link. And then now adding Haro is such a big boost to them that it's going to mean something. And then add that to the top lane that no one has been talking about. Holder coming back in is the biggest change for them. Everyone who saw Holder last year during the regular season, he was super strong. He has the flex pick that the current meta relies on him. He has the mechanics that a lot of people expect out of him. And when Rogue Warriors brought him into the playoff run, like the gauntlet run, that was just catastrophic for me. I didn't like that decision whatsoever because he didn't have the experience to put him on a big stage. And of course he fell flat. But you have him throughout the regular season, and I'm happy with that. I'm glad. And I think they deserve it. EDG, I think it's very harsh that they lost their top lane. I think Ray means a lot to this team. He was an all LPL top laner for a reason. Jinu may be a strong asset, but they're going to lose out on a lot of coordination there. So they were already kind of weak coming into the last split. This time around, I feel like it's going to be the same. BLG will make their big run. I have a lot of faith in them. I'm not going to say too much about that because I already saw the strength in the core lineup, and I like the fact that they come in with their complete identity. I think also their coaching staff is going to be crucial for this team moving forward. JDG, I had them as high expectation. I didn't think they would make that deep run that they did last time around. But I have them fifth place because I believe that while their team fight identity is going to be ironclad, I think their laning phase strength is still going to be a weak part about that. Unfortunately, their mid lane is still a crucial facilitator, and in the laning phase will run a little bit in the deficit. They rely a lot on Flawless and Zoom, and Imp and Lumao was still for me a little bit. I'm gonna take a step back and see what they can do up against a lot of the AD carries, like their bottom lanes that are coming up at the top. So let's talk about it. TOP or TES, whatever they call themselves. TES is an interesting one. I think the only reason I don't have them in the top three, which means that I would feel like they don't make it into Worlds, is because this team right now just lacks a lot of experience. They lack the necessary experience amongst the roster to keep inconsistent. If they were a consistent team, then I feel like they make that run. Unfortunately, at the moment, it seems like the members like XX, Xiong, and I would say in particular 369, there are members that come in and during the biggest moments in the best of fives during playoff time, they fall short. They don't play nearly as good as they do during the regular season. And so it leaves Knight and Loken and Ben pretty much on the wayside. Loken and Ben, I know they're weak side of the map regularly. They don't get the jungle attention that, they're not a part of the plan. So they get dived a lot. And if Xiong is not in the right position on the map at the right times, putting pressure on the side, on the top side, or even just being in the bottom side of the map to defend, then they just start, getting turned on. And I think that's going to be a major weakness. That's why they lost the third place match versus FPX, who I also have up top. I think the only reason why FPX are not top two is just going to be purely about, at times, decision-making in key moments. Because they should have been in the finals, I think. That Game 4 that they went up against JDG, where they had a huge lead, went up the Baron, got the Baron, and then overreached in the fight. These are calls that right now I need to see from FPX. When they are in crunch time, in major situations, that they continue to make the right calls and that they calm themselves down, because I'm not seeing that level of calm, even keel nature. And then we go on to IG and RNG. Yep. IG, I still think is the best team right now in the world, even though G2 picked up MSI. That I think the lessons that Invictus Gaming learned from that event is to be far more disciplined than what they've showed. Because at that event, G2 were the better team. I can say that for certain. But after the event, the levels of lessons and coordination that Invictus Gaming took out of that entire event is like, okay, we beat ourselves. We didn't get beat by Team Liquid. We made the consistent mistakes from both Baolan and Ning consistently enough that we were like, okay, if we just look back at the video, take a lot of notes, we can get back to being the world-class team that we were at Worlds. I still expect them to come into the split with the same level that they showed at Worlds. And so that's where I think Invictus Gaming can come back strong, and a good lesson to take away. RNG I have at second place because I think Lang X coming in the top lane is such a huge addition. Xiao Al / Lang X is basically going to be very, very similar to what Let Me provided to the team. That, I'm grateful and I'm very happy that Let Me had the career that he did, because he showcased a lot of his strength and flexibility and being able to play the weak side. And I think that that's something that Xiao Al / Lang X can do and will provide to a team that is going to play through mid and bot lane. So RNG are going to go back to being the strongest team, or at least the second strongest team in this sense. They're going to find themselves going at Worlds. Before the acquisition, I thought this team was not going to make Worlds at all. I thought that it was not going to be the case that FPX, TOP, and IG were going to be the teams. But now that RNG has picked themselves up a very solid top lane talent, they still have the best jungler right now in Karsa. They still have a fantastic, like the best AD carry and Uzi. That should be enough for them to be able to get themselves to the finals, but have IG taking it because IG is just a complete team. There we go. That's my reasoning. I said I wasn't going to go through each and every team. I guess I kind of did at the end. It was just 15 minutes of me running it down. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But yeah, take it easy. And also at the same time, send me your list if you have one yourself, or just tell me why you disagree with it.